I was shocked.
We're streaming? Okay. Then call the meeting to order. Remind everybody that we are live streaming this morning. And obviously welcome anybody who wants to come join us via live stream. First item on our agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from July 22nd. They were sent along with your link. I know, so we'll bring those up. Anybody who hasn't reviewed them, give them a chance. And then look for a motion after that.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
And we also have a, I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Please.
We also have excerpts for the minutes for the last meeting related to the lease bond financing. So you can approve those minutes and then the special excerpt.
Okay, great.
What's the special action?
I heard that we had a motion, but I didn't hear if we had a second.
Second.
A motion and second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then we also have excerpts.
Excerpts of the minutes. This is related to the approval of the resolution for the preliminary approval of the form of lease for the lease bond financing for the golf course.
Okay, very good.
This is related.
Any comments regarding that? I'd like to make a motion to approve those. Accept them.
To approve.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll second
I
it.
have a second. Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Move on to financials. Jeff, would you like to lead us?
You're almost better off going to the page behind this because there's been really no change from last month to this month, except for what Liz submitted. There's been about $4,500 worth of expenditures between last month and this month. That won't show up on my report. I mean, it will. If you go down to there should be another tab on there for 7. It may not be labeled, but so there's only been $4,000 reduction in total cash on hand, and that was for a Baker Tilly invoice, and it was for Jackson's invoice, and those were the only expenditures that flowed through. So everything else on here should look nearly identical to what ended in June.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Move on to open issues. Public hearing for the golf course. On our agenda this morning.
And this is the public hearing that was advertised for the public to comment on our proposed approval of the lease. So that's what the topic of this public hearing is. And then after that, we will, either approve or not approve the resolution 2025-05, I believe, which is to finally approve the lease. And draft red line was circulated, and there weren't any huge changes. There's still a couple of exhibits that need to be updated, but that's basically the legal description, I believe, at this point.
Legal description of the project we're working on, and then there was some discussion on what we were putting up for collateral for the project. We were thinking of Wellfield Park and Miriam Avenue. However, the fire station will be done by the time this closes. So we're going to switch Woodview Drive from the fire station over to this project.
Oh, you can do.
Yeah, because basically you're just putting up collateral until the building is done. Now the fire station is done, that Woodview can roll off of there, and we can just use Woodview rather than do 2 projects and 2 new legal descriptions. Which also is easier just to do Woodview Drive. So that's that. Like Jackson said, that's the change to that agreement. So, and this is just the lease between the redevelopment authority as the lessor and the redevelopment commission as the lessee, as a mechanism to fund the project. So.
Anything else?
Ready for the public hearing.
What's that? We're ready for the public hearing, so I'll officially open the public hearing and invite comment from the public. Slim, obviously, any of us can also come in as public as well. So I wish we would live stream out to the public, but they can't live stream back into us. Unfortunately, we can't do it that way either. So, is there anything else anyone would like to say while the public hearing is open? Good. I look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close public hearing.
I second.
Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. Anything else regarding that?
The approval now that we've had the public hearing, the approval for resolution 2025-05, which is approving and the lease and authorizing the president and the secretary to sign the lease and necessary related documents.
I will make a motion.
Documents in there.
See what?
Was that distributed? Did you? I didn't see it.
Is it under?
I didn't actually get to see what we're approving. So I don't know that I need to, but
Under my go to the.
Here's the copies.
Thank you.
Yes. And a form of that would have been in the folder for the
in the folder.
in the golf course folder that was
Oh,
in that
okay.
shared drive.
That's why I missed it.
Yeah, I did.
One second here, guys. Sorry, I'll do it. I didn't link it.
Yeah, sorry.
So just approving.
Yeah.
It's actually a very large document.
Yeah. Very
We
good.
don't really care.
And you just sign it, so pass it down.
No.
Hell of a way to describe that. Actually, a very large.
Yeah, he's probably holding it.
So you still need my motion to approve resolution 2025-05.
I second it.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'll just keep these for signature. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Move on to the Dietrich building. We put together, well, you know, that was, and so you are questionnaires as well. I know that you've been doing some work regarding that, but where do we stand right now?
Actually, appreciation of that is from Todd. Todd's very familiar with these city planner and has graciously put this together for us from our surveys that we have received back from you guys for the Dietrich building. So thank you, Todd, for helping us
Yes, thanks.
put this together. But this basically just goes over the RFP outline summary then of what we want to do for the Dietrich building. What we look at in this then is according to your guys' surveys, what the key concepts will be. That's the goal of finding a private developer, RDC's role in the historic designation of the building. So if you guys are, as you guys are reviewing this, if you guys see any changes you would like to make, you know, let us know. But these are according to your guys' surveys as a combination. Do you want to explain any more of it then, or?
I mean, in general, it's kind of what the purpose and goal of the project is, what they're going to be submitting, and then I think the other key portion is how they're going to be scored. And so based on your surveys, I put together kind of this short 2-page summary of what those are. That's how you guys review that, so that we can go ahead and take this information and put it into a final draft for an RFP. A couple things I put in there that tried to emphasize looking for a local developer and being proper in how you ask for that. So obviously it's the knowledge of have you done projects in the area? Are you knowledgeable on our Historic Preservation Commission? Are you knowledgeable on our permitting? Do you have previous projects that are local in the area as part of your portfolio? Those kind of questions. And there's the section on the proposed use, which still some flexibility on that, but it seemed like the second floor of boutique hotel was a preferred option. And then the first floor, a mix of unique, experimental retail, creative food concepts, and entertainment. And this section here, so I've got basically 5 categories. It's all based on a 100-point system. And I started to throw out some numbers, and here's where we could have a little bit of discussion. So talking about 1, you're talking about the team experience with a local preference and a preference for historic preservation projects. That's 15%. The financial strength and viability, kind of how the whole funding of the project, the finance of that is 15%. The third one is what's the vision and what's the quality of the design that they're presenting. That's a bigger number. I think that's important. That's 30%. And also number 4, how does that, what's the uses of that? How does that align with redevelopment's goal for redevelopment? That's another big number at 30%. And then the last one is like your delivery method, your schedule and approach. That's 10%. So you got 60% of the project is weighted on what I think is the most important thing is, what's the quality and what you're putting into it. And then the other ones are, kind of your standard. What's your team? Do you have the money? What's your schedule? Those are 15, 15, and 10. So I kind of toyed around with those numbers a little bit, and that's where I think I'd like to get your opinion on. Are we close on those numbers? We need to adjust those.
Nothing jumps out at me as
Yeah.
being incorrect. I mean, we could probably fine tune, one way or the other, but I don't know if that's necessary. But as far as the way to implement that is when we receive proposals, then we'll like each member of the Redevelopment Commission scores under each one of those categories, and then it's summarized, and then do staff also
So
score and that summarized.
Yeah. I think you're talking about the TRC committee and who's actually scoring it.
Yeah.
We're going to do something similar we did with the downtown master plan. So that we don't create a quorum. Our suggestion is to have 2 members on redevelopment beyond the TRC and then 3 from the other.
Okay.
Obviously, I think we're thinking of at least 1 from historic preservation and then 2 that kind of have experience and knowledge in those areas. So we haven't developed the list of the 5 members, but the category would be 2 from redevelopment, probably 1 from HPC and 2 others.
Okay. And then from that will be created a recommendation to the Redevelopment Commission, basically.
They will do all their scorings, and then from all the scorings, that consensus, that board will actually make a recommendation back to the Redevelopment Commission on who the selected bidder or winner would be.
That makes sense.
Jackson was kind enough to present a template.
Yeah, it's sort of a form for
Yeah.
this process. It really is just the skeleton, and the flesh is, the flesh is your standards that you really want to, push. So, and those can just be sort of put in here. But as far as the process goes, the quickest you can do it just on a timing sense is like you issue the notice, and then you have they have to be published 2 times, 1 week apart, 7 times before the public hearing, before you award it. Usually what you would want to get, so that's like a month and a half. Usually you want to give a little bit more time. And that can be up to staff or whoever is managing that process. The first offering for sale of the property, if sale of property is going to be a component of this, which my understanding is that's what we discussed. You do have to offer it the first time for the average of 2 appraisals, no less than that. So bids, you can't award a bid less than that, at least for the first offering, and then you have to wait at least 30 days before going below that. If we don't intend to do any additional work to the building in the meantime, I don't see why we couldn't use the ones we used to purchase the building. But if we do work, we might want to reappraise it and get that average out there. The basic idea of what I just put together just sort of has the notice that you would send out, and then in the statutes they call it an offering sheet rather than an RFP. So as far as vocabulary is concerned, if you do that, that's basically the same thing. And then I think the idea is that when you award the sale of the property, you would also enter into like a development agreement, which would be secured via performance bond or mortgage on the properties, and kind of agreement securing that as collateral for performance of the obligations. And you would tie in all the standards for development, like they would propose designs completely similar to these designs. That's the agreement where you also establish maybe the minimum capital investment that you would want to see, and other options out there too. That's the idea.
And just briefly looking over that, I think it's an excellent template. We're going to use that. If you go to how it's scored, I mean, I have 5 sections. Jackson's example kind of has 6. They're all
and the ones that are in there are all just taken from the statute.
yeah.
So that's why they're in there, but we can always modify those. It doesn't have to be strict. And I kept it pretty general, so there will be need to add some specificity to this. I think I just put like a mixed use development or something. But the idea is that we tailor those points to yours and make sure we have at least the statutory minimum.
So I think those are consistent. And kind of looking at Jackson's, there's discussion or a line item about, what's your purchase price, what's your sales, what's the rental. I mean, there's some pricing things in there. I'm wondering, does that bump up? That's kind of my section too. What's the financial strength and viability of the project? I think that 15%. Does that want to be bumped a little bit more to compare the developers on how much they're investing in the project, how much they're selling? So that's the only other thing after kind of reviewing Jackson's, you give a little more percentage bump in that item number 2, the financial strength, where you take it out of the other one. So that would be my own kind of second thought, but I guess I'm still okay with kind of what we're at too. But I'm gonna get your opinion on weight the financials a little bit more than 15%.
Where do you think we'd take that from?
Yeah, see, I've got the team experience. I think that's important too. The scheduling approach, I think that's important. What's those loan numbers? If you take it out of the 60, I wanted to be over 50% on those 2 important items. So kind of splitting hairs a little bit. You start to go to an 18 number, it seems better to kind of keep everything a little bit proportional. So that's the only thing I think. So is that worth 20%, and then where are you taking the other 5 out of? Because unless I take it out of the 3 or 4, is it team experience? I think no one's really score higher in team experience. There's not a lot of developers out there locally anyways that have done.
And aren't we giving them aren't we using aren't we providing part of the team? Like when you list architect and developer, you're talking interior architect, because we plan to control the exterior, even though they may be.
They'll still bring someone for doing whatever their proposal is for the
interior work of it. Okay.
It could be they hire Phil small, but they can hire.
Yeah, and there's under the number 2 section, what we'll ask developers to submit. The third point on item number 2 is the design option, because there may be alternates that unlikely to just the storefronts, but they could depending on what they're putting inside. But really, those options of are either doing awnings or signage or something different, following the guidance of Kill. But the big one is, what kind of are they doing an alley improvement or doing an addition to the back? So that would require an architect on the exterior as well.
And we would be asking them to already be doing that and providing that to us.
I have some of the drawings that they're submitting. Obviously, they need to present some type of schematic design. So they'll be
that complement their presentation.
And exterior elevations, if they're looking at any modifications to Kill's design for any additions or design options to Kill's design.
I don't know, even seems bad. And you,
What was that, Jamie?
I don't know where you would take, you know, if you're thinking one needs to shift a little bit.
Mhm.
I still
That's where
think we
I'm at
need to
with it.
stick
Yeah.
with the 30.
I'd be fine with the percentages the way that they are. I don't disagree about the importance there, but I'm not sure that I could we were ready to give up too much out of the other ones as well. So maybe that just brings me back around and sort of proves itself to be right. And if someone's, you know, obviously got financial strength issues, then they're gonna score very low, and that's probably that 15% is still enough to maybe bring them down to the point where it should be regarding that. So I don't know. Do you feel strong about changing them, Todd, or do you?
I'm comfortable. The other, when I get to the format of like the scoring sheets and how you do that, that's key. I think you made a point in the workshop about, you know, we don't make it too general. So, you know, in the fire station, we would have, so it's a 100-point system. Usually those were 5 points each, so it's 20 questions. So if you look at the 15%, you're going to get 3 questions from there that you're scoring on. 3, 6, 6, and 3, kind of a thing. I generally, it's not just one question. So if you're asking about what's your team makeup, it's what's your team makeup? Have you worked with them before? That's all part of like one major question. So I kind of break those down into categories. Usually there's several questions within that.
Yeah.
That goes into a related scoring sheet of, you know, the 0 to 5. So each question kind of has a 5 points opportunity to it. And that seems to work out well. And depending on your scores, whether they score high or score low, we've been successful, and it hasn't been like everyone had a different number one. They kind of all had a similar order. It's just someone scored really high and someone scored really low, but they all, the sequence was the same. That kind of takes a little bit about people's interpretation of the question, as long as they understand the question and they do a priority on that. Seems to have worked out.
Good. Well, anyone have any other thoughts on the proportioning of it?
I mean, I think until I would know the questions, it'd be hard also to pull that. So, because I could see a lot of 3 and 4 having some overlap. The project vision, design quality versus proposed uses, community alignments. And so depending how those 6 questions in each one of those, like it might become obvious that, hey, we could actually take one question away from this 5 points and move it to another because we can't get differentiated enough questions within that or something. I don't know. Is that a fair thought to it? Like, I don't know that I care to move the percentages around at the moment, but until I come up with 6 questions and 6 questions that really differentiate themselves, I feel like I can point differently. How I think we move forward in this format in percentage. What kind of help do you need from us on these questions? Yeah. He's very he's reading. What kind of help do you want from us in this?
Oh, and then
these questions.
No, yeah, just.
That was a lot.
You're in it, man. I got his things. You were reading through it. I just lobbed that one at you while you're mid thought.
Yeah, then this is, like I say, this is kind of just the general outline.
Yeah, what helps us come up with where we need to get the question. Yeah, no, I like it.
And that's something that we take some time and effort to put that into there.
But as it is
If-
right now,
if
this
I-
is.
If I could make a suggestion, we take this as the basis, but then you come back with some details of the questions.
Yeah.
You send that to them ahead of time, and we need to have a special meeting after the building closes, or we wait till the September meeting. But you guys can finalize it. Say, no, good question.
Yeah.
Let's take this question out. Let's add it to that one. We can finalize it in September.
I like that. No, I do. Todd, I think this layout of this is great. So I'm not,
And And I can say, for the fire station, the golf course project, these have really worked well to kind of give direction to, the TRC committee and what we're looking for. Some people are gonna score things a lot lower, but that's consistent across all the proposals. And so you get that from the members of the TRC, it kind of averages out. And so we had one project we did on the street side where each person had a different number one, but the number two was consistent across the board, and that number two was the one that was actually selected just because of the way things were averaged. So I think it's good to get the technical review committee, because then it's an average of the reviews. It typically works out to be a better project because.
And I would say too, that I went into some of these processes thinking, I think this is probably gonna be who the winner is. Even close, they weren't even in the top 5. So as you read through all the materials, you get to see really who's got the experience in these particular areas. That's worked out really well.
I was going to ask one other thing, Jackson. I think that you mentioned that the initial request, offering for request, I'm not really sure how to say it, but it needs to be the average of the two appraisals. And then how does that actually work? So we've actually put that into the proposal, but that's what their offering needs to be. And then
So what we're doing essentially is thinking of it as auctioning off the property. We're selling the property with conditions. So we're saying, hey, this is our offering. We're offering this property for sale as our listing. It can't be less than the average of the two appraisals.
But does that mean that their proposal has to also reflect that?
The minimum bid, I believe, the way it reads, let me double check. Well, they could offer less. We just couldn't accept the offer without doing probably another round of offering for a period of 30 days.
Okay. That's the distinction I want to make, because I just want to make sure that, I mean, it's obvious what our request needs to be. If their proposal is something less than that, that doesn't automatically exclude them. That just means that we need to go into further negotiation.
Yeah, and just because somebody does bid the offering price and bids more doesn't mean we have to award to them, because that's not a criteria for selling the property. It's the highest and best bid, sort of like a design build situation. There's a lot of these criteria that you look to determine who you think is best for Napa and E. There's just that, you have to also get as much money as you theoretically can for it. But you always hear about these kinds of projects ultimately selling for $1 because of all the strings attached to it. That's not uncommon. But sometimes you get people who have a great proposal and they'll buy the property for you for the average of the two appraisals. That's great too.
Okay.
The only question I have on the appraisals is, now that you've purchased it or will be purchasing it for, have you reset the market a little bit to where if you go out and get 2 appraisals, then your appraisal average will be, I don't know if significantly higher, but some higher in some folks.
Yeah, we may want to get 2 appraisals again for the sale of the property. It's sort of a gray area, I'd say. If we did a bunch of work to it, like we did do the facade, I would say, yeah, we should get one for sure.
But as long as we do all this work prior to the facade being done with this bid work stuff, we should be able to operate off the 2 that we had. We know that we paid more than it because of whatever negotiations, but.
And I guess I don't remember how old those ones are.
2 years old.
2 years old.
2020.
I'll leave that up to the discretion of the commission on whether you want to get new appraisals for that.
I wasn't trying to muddy the water.
No, it's a good question. And
I think it'll be different, but not significantly different. Significantly enough different that it's going to change our review of the proposals. We get bigger fish to fry, and we're getting these proposals, getting the right fit. It's my opinion. All right. What else do we need to move forward from here?
I did not have access to the Historic Preservation Commission memo. I just wonder what that, I don't know that it matters that I really know what that is. We're just asking them for assistance. What? Oh, it's to common council. It's not. Okay. That's fine. It was just listed here when I tried to click on it. Well, so we are recommending the definition of that. Great.
Did you want Dan to talk about that a little more?
Sure, that'd be great. Talk to me about just a quick reminder of that designation, what that carries for us as we go down this.
Road.
And
Yeah, I might stand up over here just so I can see everybody a little better, if that's okay.
yeah,
So this is, as the memo talks about at the most recent meeting for Historic Preservation Commission, they voted to recommend the Dietrich Building as a single site historic district to Common Council. So council will be reviewing that recommendation and making a final decision, which would be by ordinance through 3 readings in the coming weeks. So at this point, the goal of historic preservation is kind of multifaceted. One fitting the action and the goals of Historic Preservation Commission in general is to establish buildings and sites and districts within the city of Napanee that have historic value in their own right. And in this particular instance, Historic Preservation Commission wants to kind of come alongside the Redevelopment Commission in support of your goals for this particular project, where you'd like to see the not just renovation, but rehabilitation of a building that's important to Napanee's downtown for its historic past and also for the future. And so this is something not that Historic Preservation wants to take control of away from Redevelopment Commission by any means, but to support you guys in what you're attempting to do in this situation. So this memo is to Common Council from Historic Preservation Commission, basically sharing with you guys what's happening because it's kind of a simultaneous project in a way, but also it'd be great to be able to say to Common Council that Redevelopment Commission supports this endeavor and this designation from historic preservation. So like I said, the goal of historic preservation would be to support what you guys are doing in this project for the Dietrich Building, and is really a way to ensure long-term that that building under private ownership, which is the goal here, long-term that private ownership has responsibility to maintain the historic features and facets and nature of that building. It doesn't become something that's no longer historically relevant to the density.
So it will always follow the building.
Yeah.
So no matter who buys it, who owns it, this will protect that building.
Correct. The ordinance established by the city protects that structure, and that is attached to the deed and goes with it in perpetuity for whoever owns that building, even if it's 100 years from now,
Right.
unless that ordinance were to be reversed by council. So that is something that, and just to speak briefly in the context of what this is. So we have on the National Register the Downtown Historic District, which in 1990 the application was put forth to the state and the federal branches, and that Dietrich building is specifically mentioned in that downtown district. The federal designation doesn't really provide any protections on the building. Whoever owns it at the time could demolish it and tear it down if they so wished. That only provides some honorary and some potential tax credits and some potential grants if it's on the federal National Register. So that local ordinance really is going to be the protection of the building. And I could talk about the whole process of what that looks like once that is established, but really it's that protection only exists by the local ordinance under Historic Preservation Commission.
Are there other local districts that are currently being?
There are
historic districts.
there are 4 that exist currently. They're all city-owned properties. So this would be the first, assuming the sale gets into a private ownership, this would be the first privately owned historic district on the local level. There are others in the works and under discussion from Historic Preservation Commission's viewpoint that are privately owned, but the goal is always, overarching goal of Historic Preservation Commission is always to help maintain and rehabilitate when possible buildings of historic nature or districts. It could be multi-site, but this is a single site designation.
Dan, does this open up the possibility of historic tax credits to whoever the developer is?
The tax credits, from my understanding, again, not a lawyer and accountant, but from my understanding, the tax credits would exist because it is in a federal district already on the national register.
So that not add any additional benefits to the developer.
Correct.
It would just protect.
It's all about the ordinance creation at the local level is all about protection,
right,
and allowing the local municipality to say, no, you can't do that with that building. Without it, a private developer down the road could say, we want to take out all those windows and make it all glass front. And the National Register listing wouldn't care. But the local ordinance creation would be able to say that's not appropriate in that historic context. So you can't do that potentially.
On the local level, what's the enforcement for a single site? I mean, for districts, you have like design guidelines and you have the related ordinance and enforcement procedure and approvals for building permits. Do you do design guidelines just for the Dietrich building?
Yeah, it would be the same. And that's what the terminology is, a single site historic district. So when you're looking at the terminology, they call it a district, whether it's a single structure or Madison Street, Brick Street, that is one of the local designations. So that is a historic site, the street itself. And so whether it's a single site or it's a multi-site district, it's all called a district, and the preservation guidelines are in place, which the Secretary of the Interior has standards. So to achieve the tax credits and other tax grants or other financial grants that are out there, any private developer has to maintain those standards, the Secretary of the Interior standards, to qualify for those credits. Even though it's in the district, they're restricted on what they can do to get the credits. And so this local ordinance would point back at those same interior standards, the Secretary of the Interior standards, and say, that's what you need for our approval, and say this is appropriate for the local ordinance. So it's the same set of standards, so to speak. The Secretary of the Interior on the national level establishes those all the time, and they're readily available online.
So that's I guess one thing is, I'm wondering if my question, I guess, is the Preservation Commission planning on, putting together not just the standards for rehabilitation, but like the actual design guidelines,
Yes.
and like, these are appropriate window styles, these are appropriate awning styles. And if so, should that be done before we offer this for sale? And
Good question.
or should it be incorporated into this?
The preservation guidelines that exist are roughly a sample template, so to speak. So from a historic preservation standpoint, the RFP, when it's finalized, should probably reference the Secretary of the Interior standards. As the outline that Todd has put together talks about historic preservation in a couple points. The RFP can also reference that, potentially calling out that there could be tax credits and grants available from the private developer standpoint. Like I said, the preservation guidelines, to get back to Jackson's question, could, as they exist, are kind of a overarching general guideline rather than specifically created for this specific site.
Does a lot of things we're talking about, just tax credit, some of those things, does this affect our ability to recapture our TIF money on that building in any way, shape, or form as it is taken off, put in those tax credits to that? Does that make sense? Similar to how when we like Wellfield, we can only recoup certain percentages as opposed to some of our others. And so when we're doing work in what's going to be a historic site, does that complicate that?
Yeah, I believe it would. lessen the amount you can recover because it's property tax exemption, right? And those usually only last 10 years, I think, those historic tax credits. Now, there might be different state, like the state offers them and the federal government offers them. I don't know if the state still does it. I think I might have saw something that they policy program at the state level. But I think federal still does. So that would be a portion of the taxes, and how it would shake out would be more of a Baker Tilly question.
Yeah, we could ask Baker Tilly about that.
I'd just be intrigued to know if that actually has some spine. I'm not saying it's enough that it matters, but
Yeah, it's sort of like like they get a structured abatement.
Yeah.
For doing that work. And I think that it's usually 10.
And that would be the case whether or not this ordinance is created. Because those tax credits exist on the national register, the federal register level,
so
regardless.
this
of
has
if
no
it's-
impact on that.
I'm
Correct.
sure it would strengthen it.
It would strengthen the case for it,
Yeah.
but it,
And for other grants, like for other,
Yeah, well,
from other
that's fine.
nonprofits or something.
That is a good,
yeah, but it doesn't
Thank you
create
for
the
noting
option
that.
for
Yeah,
them
yeah.
because
Very
this exists. Yeah.
and that was really what my question was asking, is
Yeah.
this impacting?
They would be able to apply for those credits whether or not the ordinances exist.
Probably one of my biggest just questions is how this timeline dovetails with our RFP process, and whether or not a potential proposal submitter would have a concern one way or the other, and whether or not we're hearing their concern appropriately. And I wouldn't want it to get to the point, I guess my concern in all that is that I wouldn't want it to get to the point where we're heading down one path and a potential developer wants to go down another path, and now we have a conflict of some sort.
Sure. And we've had a lot of discussions about that. And I think the general perspective, or at least my perspective, is that if that is called out in the RFP, that this is in process or has been designated, that any potential developer is well aware of that going forward, I would hate to see that the developer not be aware, and then a few months later, suddenly an ordinance is created that handicaps them after the fact. So but certainly the more that any potential developer is aware and is called out for in the RFP going forward, which I would imagine due to the historic nature and appeal of the building already, that would be on their mind. But
why just the single site? Why not consider the portion of the downtown that is historic downtown? If we're working on these guidelines, we want these design controls in different locations. Why a single site instead of, hey, let's implement a portion? I'm not saying I'm just asking that question.
no, that's a good question. And I think that's something that could still occur.
Okay.
And that's a bigger process. That's a bigger analysis overall. But in the course of historic preservation, going through and saying, okay, as they're called to do from the city ordinance creating the Historic Preservation Commission, as they're going through and seeing what else is out there, what else should we designate?
Yeah.
Larger districts of the downtown area is a possibility going forward. But as to why it's not happening yet, it's just a larger process. And due to the nature of the Dietrich building and the state in which it was falling at the time, that was something that was seen as more soonly actionable.
Because we'd have to have certain number of buildings, certain qualifications and certain things. So it's not easy to, we probably don't necessarily have a whole city block that would potentially qualify for that or not.
I think that you're looking at historical significance of the building, and, you know,
That's some of
I
what.
think you can justify some more than others. You know, I don't know that you would have a building like Rue if that was historic district. So, I mean, there's some merits to, you know, blending the old with the new. So, I mean, there's definitely something we can take a look at as we move forward. Are there specific areas, multiple buildings that we include with that? Again, that's more responsibility on the Historic Preservation Commission, which I don't think is an issue. I think they're looking for some projects that can really be involved with.
I don't know. We talk about historic downtown
Well,
Napanee.
Yeah, and we've
And
also
we
talked about
represent-
overlays too
Um,
for the.
And so I'm just intrigued as we talk about, I mean, I'm not And I think Rue's a perfect example, but if we had had all this in place, Rue may have made themselves look over.
Right.
The interior may be whatever, but we might have been able to work with Tuttle's on
I agree.
how that facade played out. Good or bad. I'm not dogging it either way, but,
And I think to Brad, your question on timing, we could take it through the 2 readings through council and just pause it until we get a developer selected. And then we can take it through that final 3rd reading.
That's true.
there is some hesitancy in me to say, I'm great with this. I'm not, and I think it's more of I'm not sure where I'm at or understanding of everything than, because there are parts I really do like about it. But it also seems like it could be a lot of work for someone related to this. And I just think I don't know, I just want to digest that, I guess, a little bit more and make sure I'm comfortable with where I'm at before I would make a recommendation.
And even the quickest we could get it done is by the end of September after your next meeting. Possibly then the first council meeting in October is the earliest we can get anything done on this. So there's a runway.
And I agree. I want to protect the building, but I don't want to hinder something we want to do with it. My goal is to protect that building.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't necessarily stop somebody from just letting it go to.
That's right.
I mean, they may not ever do anything because they can't do what they need to or pay, and so they'll just let stuff go.
Right.
This doesn't necessarily hinder that. I mean, there's no.
And
you get a bad owner that wants to do whatever. I mean, you're going to struggle.
Yeah, and I think the local design control via the historic preservation ordinance would still only apply to the exterior of the building, which we're planning on controlling anyway.
Yep.
So a lot of that will be the same, I'd say, since we're doing a historic, we're wanting a return to the original facade. I don't see much conflicting issues there other than if they wanted to change certain things. And I don't know how flexible the design guidelines would be under the ordinance for this ordinance. But yeah,
How many times are you going?
I keep like my chair back a little bit. So, but yeah, that's usually the reason why it's not a local district downtown. It's because they want to, because then you're pretty locked in there.
Yeah. No, I would just ask. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing that would certainly affect is how we structure our drawings that we haven't put together our final construction drawings from the schematic design that's been put together yet. And we need to probably get kind of through a little bit at least to this proposal process or all of the proposal process before we finalize that. But it will certainly affect our bidding documents that we'll put together to the side.
Okay. This was just for us to look at, right? I mean, you don't need anything with this. I mean, specifically, this is historic to council.
Yeah, and I guess you guys have any objection with us on September 2nd is our next council meeting introducing this ordinance. I mean, it's not going to be finalized until we get feedback from you guys.
Yeah, I guess well, I'm not going to stop historic preservation from pursuing that, but I don't know that I don't know that I recommend it. I don't know that I would want it stated that the RDC is encouraging this process at the time strictly because I don't know where I'm at.
We don't
It's not
have
that
enough information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's fair.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
And I think we can mention that at the council meeting, that this is in conjunction with what we're doing with the district building.
Yeah.
That we're gonna wait until such time as Redevelopment Commission's on board to actually finalize this, but this is the starting point. So just first and second reading.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Is there anything else that we need to move forward with where we're at right now? On the request for proposal?
Yeah, Todd, did you get enough of an approval for what we were reading through?
If you want a formal vote on that general outline, we can move forward with the final, would be probably appropriate.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve that outline for us to.
I second it.
Motion second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you for all your work. We'll move on to, project list review.
Yeah, so this is a follow-up from our meeting that we had last week with the special session, from the list that you all have given me. I do want us to look over it and see if I have missed anything. And then, going forward, we can look to see how we want to scale these and decide on that. But this was the list that I gathered from all y'all and I meant to order. So we got the Dietrich building here at first, NIPSCO Airport, that's for the gas line extension. Kind of give a little bit of a description next to them. Streetscape infrastructure, Jackson Street extension with a housing TIF. Larry Mold's property at 252 West Lincoln.
Can you clarify streetscapes infrastructure?
Downtown streetscapes.
Perfect. Thank you. I thought that, but I just wanted to make sure I was on.
Yeah, my apologies on that. Derek Lauck's building there with the facade work that would need some assistance with that. Reliance building with some facade work too. The Depot Plaza parking. Now I don't know if we would want to inlay that with the downtown streetscapes, but you know that could be a potential or an additional project too. Walnut Street with the extension of that. So the infrastructure out there, and then 158 West Lincoln, the acquisition of Malin Hirschberger's home. 112 East Market, the acquisition of that building. Or acquisition or project, we could come alongside work on that. I know Marcus has that building there, and there was some interest too from Nancy for that area. Design overlay from Brad. You know, we could look at updating the ordinances on that and see what we want to do from there, and go forward for design standards. And then topping building the 102 West Market. Brad had mentioned, you know, looking at the future of that. And then South Oakland Park Business Park. That would be the area out there in County Road 7, looking at as our next industrial TIF area. So yeah, additions, subtractions.
This is in no particular order.
No particular order, no. And I figured, so on the far right there, if you guys would like to fill out the rest here remaining, basically just come with the priority of what you have on there then. Potential funding source, of course, that's going to be through us and some other grants that we have available.
Could you denote on here for us which ones could potentially get grants? I'm not asking you to do that in this exact moment.
Yeah, so as we go along further on exploring the Main Street program too, we can look at doing some of these, but it depends on how soon you guys want to do some of those. We also have partners too with the Community Foundation that would be interested in helping us out with some of the other projects too. And Convention and Visitors Bureau could help out with the downtown streetscapes. They've shown interest in doing wayfinding signs with us and assisting with that.
So if you wouldn't mind, could we make like a key down at the bottom that would be, because I'm assuming some of this would be community crossings with the street stuff.
Yeah, with the
And
streets.
again, these are potential. I'm not asking that we would for sure get them, but anything that could, any other organization that's showing interest in these projects that aren't us footing the whole bill, I think it'd be really nice for me to know what those ones are. I can speculate all day long, but I'm assuming you guys would actually know, like, hey, this could be this, this could be this, this could be this. And so that would be really helpful, I think, if we just kind of came up with the community cross CC.
Sure, absolutely. I can do it.
Community Foundation CF and ECCVB or something, but some type of denoting we can put in there. Because I think that could play into some of our priority of it. Will play into some of my prioritizing of it. We know there's other stuff there.
Sure. And we can look to do that too with another special session ahead.
Sure. And then our cost range, I'm assuming again, some of these, we have those ranges, or you guys have those ranges with like the NIPSCO.
Yeah, we do have information on some of those projects, yes.
I know, especially even some of Jeff's report has some things listed in there that could overlap into this, or has in the past. If we could get those.
So what you're doing is the next meeting, you want those brackets filled.
I'd love to know what potential funding sources there are and estimated costs. 'Cause
Right,
I
those
don't
two
know that I can
brackets.
prioritize it
Until we,
until we know some of that. Yeah. And as long as, if we can see that updated, or if you can remind us when you've done, then we could go through, because I think you've asked, and I don't mind giving some idea what I'm comfortable spending on a project range, but again, that's an opinion. It's not a,
Yeah, I mean, it's nice
I
to know
don't
your
know
guys'
how to
opinions
weight
on what
what
your
he thinks
total investment is
worth
on this.
spending. I don't know how to weight
Mark,
it.
will you scoot it up again, please?
Dan.
Thank you.
I think this matrix too helps us, Mark and myself, be able to do the potential expected funding for next
Yeah.
year. The report that we have to do by December 1st will come into play.
I think we
Some of
can-
these things that
Take a pretty good guess on some of these houses. I mean, we've bought enough houses around that even if we're within $100,000 of the houses, we
Yeah.
should be fine, and we should be able to plug that in.
I think the one that will be the highest one will be Larry Mullet's, because that's classified as commercial.
Commercial, yeah. But I think to be able to put a number, hey, the average house we're buying, we're spending $200,000 on, hey, we're spending 300 on a commercial property or for whatever it is, and just be able to plug those in as rough estimates. That allows us to really see what we can prioritize and plug and play.
The one thing, Mark, that might not be on here that I know we've discussed in the past, we got the Eads property on North Main Street. The empty lot, John's Butcher Shop owns right now. Georgian Service, that whole 200 block of Main Street, it's probably not as high a priority as some of these others, but do we want to include that on there?
Yeah, and I intend to kind of go over this and make sure, double check myself. It's hard in this moment to sort of go down and look at my notes from our special meeting. I mean, I think you've covered most of it, but
Yeah, these are just what I gathered from your guys' list.
yeah, this is great. So this will help us know, oh, I wanted this on there. I wanted this.
None of the 200 blocks.
The tricky thing, I mean, I think it's great to prioritize, and we need to, we have to make that sort of show what our priority is. Thing we have to also keep in mind is that there's a fluidity that we can't help. Something comes on the market and we decide we need to purchase it. We need to purchase it, and so, and that may change the priorities of some of the other things that come behind that. So, I mean, we just need to be aware of that, but that certainly doesn't probably affect the way we prioritize things here now. Sure.
And this helps because it's a little bit of a weight option too. If any project came up that we were looking to do like a forgivable loan fund with, we can weigh to see which way we want to go with that more.
Yeah. For sure.
Cool. Thank you, Mark. This is great.
Yes.
No problem. And if you guys see anything to add, shoot me an email.
Yeah.
And is this on the Google Drive?
It is on our Google Drive.
It is on the agenda. You could click through to this.
Okay. So,
we know.
thank you. Okay. Cartoon Alley update?
Yeah. We are approaching the Cartoon Alley to be done here before Apple Festival, so it should be done before our next meeting.
Yay.
Push is to get that done right before Apple Festival because also our grant states that we were going to do that. So all of the hardware should be finished for the arch and the lights by, I believe Jeff Stilson said the 2nd. So coming up on that, have a coordination meeting this week with ProTime and Jeff Stilson on getting all that installed. And then right now, I think we got 4 of the 5. Sorry, 1 sec, food train. 4 of the 5 murals done. I believe that's one being worked on there. So we're pushing along on that. And we should hopefully have everything up here right before Apple Festival. Then, as soon as the arch gets installed, lights will start going up. That's the main thing that needs to be installed in there. NIPS goes in there on Friday, finishing our connection. So we are good to go on that side.
Getting that done.
Benches were ordered too, and planters. Cool. So we got those taken care of. Jane helped out with that, so I appreciate her assistance with that. And yeah, we're getting ready to go here. So should be fun to open up as our first project with that.
It's awesome. Any other questions about that?
Oh, painter will come back through and touch up as well. So any kind of chips or anything too, we'll have that all taken care of.
Any additional items? Anybody? Not, look for a motion to adjourn. I'll say. All those in favor, aye.
Yes.